Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to continue my segments on looking at Psychic Awakening, the Greater Good. Now, in this video, I'm going to concentrate on the Genestealer Cults. Reason for that is that in the past we've had I've looked at the books where I've done all of them in one go, and people are like, I just want to concentrate on the Blood Angels, or I just want to concentrate on the Tyranids. Well, this way we've got the separate videos out so people can see what they prefer and really just get the content they want. So that's kind of handy in that one. How I begin these is I like to speak a wee bit about the narrative, try not to spoil anything within the book. Now, I didn't have too long to read into the narrative of this one, mainly because there's 3 forces I had to review rather than 2, which is kind of tricky. Also, there are forces that I don't entirely know too well. I know Tau quite well because I'm kind of banned from them, because I'm absolutely rubbish with them. Astral Militarum I actually know quite well because I really like them. Unfortunately, we don't have a force on at the moment, but it is a force I have tried to paint some models, but I've got way too many projects on at the moment. And Genestealer Cult, I'm not going to lie, I don't know them best. I did review them, so I know some of the stuff. I highly rated their relics. But generally, they are a force that really just blows my mind. And one thing I might want to say here is maybe I'm not going to be the best to review this section of the Genestealer Cult, mainly because I don't know the army too well. But certainly there have been things when I reread the Codex and then read this, I have got more in tune with, and then I can recap all the best parts that I think are the best. But there may be parts I am missing, because I haven't played them yet, and they are strange as heck. So yeah, when it comes to the actual book itself, it is told very much from the Astral Militarum and Tau point of view, very much about the propaganda and everything as well. The one part I was a bit disappointed in was the Echoes of Awakening, which in the past have sometimes given real good hints on what's happening in the future. However, in this one it did have 2 sections which summarised Ritual of the Damned. There was one from the Dark Angel perspective, one from the Grey Knights, which is fine, but I've already read that book. There was one where the Flesh Terrors, they were unhappy that the Intercessors were basically, they could suffer the flaw, the Death Company Intercessors, and they're like, well, you told us they were perfect. No, they're not. So there was an interesting Flesh Terror one, because they do not like Primaris. Iron Warriors, was a bit of mention them. Big fan of Porto Rabo, so I don't think we're getting a Demon Primarch of him soon, though I love it. Call was mentioned, which who knows what shenanigans he's up to, and there was a World Eater's message, which 10 points if you can guess what it is. I'll give you a clue. It's 2 or 3 words, and it's just over and over and over again. Yeah, so that's kind of when it comes to narrative. As again I said, I didn't have time to read that one so much, and I don't ever really want to spoil too much either. I'm going to give a summary of the book in itself, so you get an idea what the other factions are getting, in case you don't want to go to go and see them, but it's really quick. So to summarise, Tau got Commander Shadowsun, new model, new stuff. Custom Tau Septs, choose 2, that's your Sept. Prototype weapons, instead of a relic, choose something to help a character or a unit, and they are really good. Stratagems, you get about 15 for the Tau. They then got 8, so it's their rules from chapter approved 2018. I think there may be some updates, but I didn't check, so there was loads, and there was a huge amount of points. So I think it's just moving them into a codex. Farsight Enclave rules, so if you played a Farsight Enclave detachment, they got some stuff. Astral Militarum, they got regimental doctrines, choose 2 rules, and that becomes your regiment. Then they've got tank cases, which is replace a warlord trait to upgrade a tank. There's a few ways of that. Stratagems, all the forces got stratagems, and the Ordo Tempestus, which is basically if you use the Tempestus units, then they get a whole bunch of extra rules, which was really, really cool. And in Genestealers, well, you got a clarification on the Cult Ambush and Brood Brothers orders. Yay. You got Cult Creeds, which is choose 2, that is your own custom cult, stratagems, and psychic abilities. So I'm going to say straight off the bat, a little bit lackluster when it comes to other ones. Genestealers sadly did not got the short end of the straw when it came to this one. Don't get me wrong, expanding on creeds, stratagems are all good. The psychic abilities are only one psychic ability for the main cults rather than just a whole new set that the Grey Knights got and everything. No, these are very much reminiscent of what the Chaos got, which is they also got warlord traits and relics, while you just get creeds and stratagems. Though the creeds arguably would be good for Chaos, they wouldn't mind some creeds, but arguably you didn't get as much as the other ones, such as Tau and Astra Militarum, which is not ideal. However, as is, that is what it is. What I would say is that, you do get, a lot of the cult creeds. I think, do you get more than anyone else? No, I think it's actually Tau or Astra that actually get more of them. So it's not, so bad in that one. What I'd say is that when it comes to the errata, right, we'll get started with that one. I don't know. It's basically rewritten the whole cult ambush and the whole Brood Brothers section. I don't know if there's any big major changes to how they work. I think it's simply just the wording that some people were possibly abusing or wasn't clear. Then they have just put it into print so people can see, which I can't argue with. But a little bit part of me saying that seems a bit more like padding out the book a wee bit, because not many erratas do get done. Now I do believe that things like Blood Angel, I think all the Marines actually did, they got their Bolter Discipline and Shock Cell where they weren't applicable for like Blood Angels, Dark Angels, probably Space Wolves when that comes around. Chaos Space Marines, they all got put in their codex. Then yeah, you could argue, cool, erratas are necessary. And yeah, it's good to have them in ruling, but it doesn't add so much to them as such. What is new is the cult creeds. So we've seen these so far, and they are proving quite popular. The more they introduce them, Astra and Tau get these as well. So I think it's proving that GW quite like how this works. Either way, you get to choose 2 out of 11 when it comes to the cult creeds. I won't spoil them all, but I'll highlight the top ones. So we have Innate Fighter. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model with this creed, in a turn in which it made a charge, was charged or performed heroic intervention, reroll hit rolls of 1. Reroll hit rolls of 1 are not bad. Now keep in mind, like Necrons is like Novak actually gets to reroll all hits, which is fine. I suppose you get another rule on top of it, but reroll hit rolls of 1 just when you charge, not bad. I hear cult units do okay in combat. Seasoned Enforcers, infantry models of the cult creed do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons. Not bad. I would have preferred it would have been all units, ignore this. Now I do know that cult units also, I don't think their vehicles benefit from cult rules, only bikers and infantry, and maybe some kind of characters also, which is a bit of a pain. But I would have preferred if it was infantry and bikers got this, that would have been a lot more handy. Speaking of, Agile Outriders, biker models for this cult creed do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons, and do not suffer the penalty for advancing and firing assault weapons. Again, I would have preferred that if that was like kind of one rule. I suppose as you get 2, maybe separating them out would be better. But again, I just feel if they were combined, infantry and biker units are immune to heavy, it would have been a lot more preferable. It would have been a very solid choice to choose there. We've then got Munitions Expert, add 1 strength characteristic of grenade weapons with cult creeds are equipped with. Now I know there is like grenade tactics for Genestealer Cults. I know that there's ways to get like close and then huck a ton of grenades. Then there's one where you can fling loads of demo charges and it makes them strength 9, I believe, which is going to be absolutely devastating to really, if you like get up by a night, huck a bunch of demo charges and right away, then Munitions Expert is going to help on that one as well. Overall, I know there is tactics in this one, so that one just adds that extra low strength, and if it works in demo charges, all the better. Unnatural Symbiosis, when a psychic test is taken for a cult model with this cult creed within 6 inches of another cult unit, you can reroll any or all dice rolls of 1. Now, this is very similar to, I think, Tyranids, where they actually just get a reroll 1 dice in the phase, which is fine. This rerolls all 1s of 1, which is fine as well. I suppose you need to be near a cult unit, which you're probably going to be anyway. So I think that one is quite useful. Overall, that's kind of the main ones I saw here. Now, there's other ones here, but again, I don't know the units too well, but I did see the ways that you can ignore heavy, which is kind of helpful. There is obviously the demo charge one, which I really like, and then psychic ones. Again, none of them scream out at me. The astral ones and Tau ones were, not all of them are exceptionally well, but some of them were fantastic. None of them scream out with me when it comes to the cult one, which is not ideal. Stratagems, 15 stratagems, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh no, it's only 14 stratagems for the Genestealer Cults, which is not ideal. 2, 3, 14. Yeah, only 14. So that means either the Tau or the Astra Militarum got one more. Astra Militarum actually got close to double because their Tempestus got 14 stratagems as well. Imperials, what are they like, eh? You know, if you're a traitor for them, you get half stratagems. So what I'm going to do is just speak about the highlighted stratagems, the ones that really do stand out, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I think are really worth good note. So we've got Annihilation Advance, one command point. Use a stratagem in the charge phase when a Goliath Rock Grinder from your army finishes a charge move. Select one enemy infantry unit within 1 inch of that unit, and on a 2+, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Now, I don't usually like stratagems that give, you know, one command point you cause a small amount of mortal wounds, but say if it is a character, say it's Smash Captain or Charge In, that extra couple of mortal wounds really will make a difference because we hate Storm Shields. Overall, I can only see this being really used to solve really damaged characters and situationally, but overall it is solid to remember because I love the Rock Grinder. I think it's one of my favourite models. I think the rules are pretty cool as well. We've then got Close Range Shootout, which is an awesome sounding one. One command point, use the stratagem in the shooting phase when an Italian Jackals unit from your army is chosen to shoot with. To the end of the phase, when resolve an attack made with pistol or assault weapons by mods on that unit against an enemy unit within 12 inches, you can reroll a wound roll. One command point, it does allow you to reroll wound rolls. Now it does mean that it's only the pistol and assault weapons, which are never going to be the most strongest, but it does mean reroll wounds, which means you can throw dice to your opponent. So that's kind of nice on that side, and anything that does give reroll wounds or augment of wounds, I would say, is a real help. Next is the Cults Psyche, which is here. One command point, use a stratagem before the battle, select one Cult Magus from your army. That unit can attempt to manifest one additional psychic power in the Psyche phase. When a Psychic test is taken from that unit, add one to the total for each other friendly Cult Psyche units within 3 inches to a maximum of 3+. You can only use this stratagem once per battle. So it does allow you this sort of continuous ability to really get reliable psychic abilities. Again, I don't know the psychic abilities for Genestealer Cults so well, so I think it's kind of really not bad to get a +3 for one command point as long as you keep them all in sort of a union. So I like them. I like it. If there's a psychic ability you really need to get off, this can help it a lot. Next up is Genetic Lineage. One command point, use a stratagem in the charge phase, select one Acolyte Hybrid from your army. Till the end of the phase, that unit can be chosen to charge, even if it advances this turn. So I'm not really a big fan of when it comes to these sort of, you know, advanced ones and you can charge, because there's always that occasion you roll a 1 and you're like, oh, that extra inch is not enough. And then sometimes you get 6 and then you're like, great, delightful, really, really reliable. It's a bit tricky. I suppose that it actually is in the charge phase, so you've already worked out your charge move beforehand. So, fine. I think it's actually not bad. If it was, you know, you can, you know, when you advance, you have to use this and then you can charge, that'd be bad. But I suppose actually, no, you work out your advance. If it worked out well, you can charge. Still a bit risky in case you do fluff it, then you have to spend that command point. It doesn't really help so much, but it is actually not that bad. Next one is Evasive Driving. Use this stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase when a Goliath is one command point. Goliath Rock Grinder or Goliath Truck from your army is chosen as the target of an attack made with a ranged weapon. Till the end of the phase, weapons with an armor penetration characteristic of -1 or -2 are treated as having an armor penetration characteristic of 0 when resolving an attack against that unit. So I think there is a way for Genestealer Cults already to limit the amount of armor penetration stuff that comes through. But generally I think it's actually really, really good. -2, you know, bringing it down to 0 is really going to annoy quite a few armies. Obviously things like Plasma, they're still going to get through, but -2 is still there, and -1 to really damage those Goliath units. So I think that is an absolute solid one, especially for one command point. There's other armies who would kill for that, and in other armies I'd say it's maybe overpowered. Overcharged Weaponry. Use a stratagem in the shooting phase when a cult unit from your army is chosen to shoot with. Till the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made with Clearance Incendiary, Heavy Miner Laser or Heavy Seismic Cannon by model in that unit, add 1 to wound roll. So again, I will say that it's always very good to add 2 wound rolls. The problem is I don't see many ways to get loads of these in a unit so you can maximum the usage. Maximum I could see maybe is like 3 or 4 in a unit, which really kind of puts me off. Let me know if there's like a big unit where you can take like a 5-man squad, 10-man squad of these weapons, and let me know in the comments so other people can see, because adding +1 to wound, if they all have these kind of weapons, then yeah, that is going to be an absolute delight. Last but not least, we're going to go into the psychic abilities. So the psychic powers, all cult psyker models can know the psychic powers of the respective cult. Instead of generating a psychic power from the Broodmine discipline, a cult can instead know the appropriate psychic power from the list below. Now, instead of generating a psychic power, so I'm a bit annoyed by this because I think the Thousand Sons they just knew what the psychic ability that their Legion had, which was their detachment had, which is annoying. Grey Knights, yeah, they had to choose like the certain one, but they got a whole new table. This is kind of the worst way to get it, where basically you have to, I would have loved it if you went one of these creeds, you got this spell on top of the others, and then yeah, I wouldn't be complaining. But fortunately, you've got to give up one of the spells to generate that one, and I'm not too happy about that. But there are some not bad ones, actually. There's a few of them I thought were quite good. Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor, Undermine. Undermine has a warp charge value of 8. If manifested, select one infantry unit within 18 inches of this. Till the start of the next psychic phase, half the movement characteristics and models in that unit, and half the advance and charge roll of that unit, rounding up. Again, you know, when you actually reduce movement, especially things like Macedonian Dragoons, which has been happening a lot recently, is devastating for the unit. It just really slows them down massively, and it means that they're just not going to get into combat where they need to be. So that can be a good one. It is only 18 inches, which is a bit of a pain, and a warp charge 8, which is really high, but a solid one nonetheless. The Bladed Cog, Undying Vigour. Undying Vigour has a warp charge of 6. If manifested, select one Bladed Cog unit from your army within 12 inches until the start of your next psychic phase. When a model in that unit would lose a wound, roll a d6 of 5+, it is not lost. It's not bad, 5 up, ignore wounds. I don't think there's so many ways for that in Genestealer Cult, there's a few. So it's just nice to keep that bit of survivability. The Rusted Claw, Inescapable Decay, has a warp charge of 6. If manifested, select one enemy vehicle within 18 inches of and visible to the Psyker until the end of the turn. When resolving an attack made with a weapon against that unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that weapon by 1 for that attack. E.g. 0 becomes AP -1. Probably my favourite of the lot here, just to go 18 inches and every weapon is going to be an extra -1 AP on you, is going to be devastating against some vehicles. So I think that one is a real good one, and good one to look out for. The Pauper Princes, the Last Gasp. Last Gasp has a warp charge of 7. If manifested, select one Pauper Prince unit from your army within 12 inches of the Psyker until the start of the next psychic phase. When a model in that unit is destroyed, roll a d6 before removing the model from play. On 4+, that model can either shoot with one of its ranged weapons, or if it's as if it's shooting phase, or make one attack with melee weapon as if it was fight phase. So really you're going to want to do the shooting part. That's what Marines like to do when they have like their Hellblasters and their standard that gives that ability. I think it's not bad. I think it's really good. I think there's other ways maybe to get this in the Genestealer Cult. I could be wrong. But overall I think it's not bad. It is 7, which is a little bit high for something that it'd only be if the opponent targets that unit. They might go, right, just forget that unit, we'll target something else. But overall it is not bad. So I think, yeah, I think I can safely say that is not bad one overall. It's devastating me when Hellblasters unit. How it does with Genestealers, you'll have to let me know. And last but not least, the Twisted Helix Mutagenic Deviation. Mutagenic Deviation has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select one enemy infantry unit within 12 inches of this Psyker. Till the start of the next psychic phase, when resolving an attack made with melee weapons by Twisted Helix model from your army against that unit, add 1 to wound rolls. So that is another actually really solid one. So obviously you want your Psyker to debuff on a unit that you really want to be swamped with combat, and then being able to add 1 to wound is always very solid. And it's only warp charge 6, which is very ideal. So that's kind of it for Genestealer Cults. Unfortunately, it's just not as good as the Astra Tau. What can I say on that one? I believe that the Codex is still expanding. Hopefully we'll see some new stuff on it as well. I think there does need to be some cleanup for them. You did get some nice psychic abilities, some okay stratagems, and okay cult creeds. But in general, and this is going to be the brutal summary of it, when it comes to all the Psychic Awakenings I have reviewed so far, which the only 2 I missed was Dark Elder, or Drakari, and Eldari, I've reviewed all the lists, and this one probably comes the weakest next to Space Marines, because Space Marines got an amazing codex and they didn't need anything else, and I thought, oh, that's fine. And if you want to say Sister of the Battle, they got nothing. But overall, of these forces, Genestealer Cult got the worst, and that is very, very unfortunate. If you're wondering about the other ones, and if you don't want to know and you want to look at their videos, go ahead. But to summarise those ones, probably Astra Militarum came out the best out of all of them, because their stratagems and things are very, very good. With Tal very, very close behind, their prototype weapons are absolutely stellar. So thanks again for watching, guys. I'm sorry I can't be more positive about Genestealer Cult. Maybe I'm missing something. As I said, I'm not the best one to review for this one. If you've got any questions, please comment below. I am going to try and monitor them this weekend and get back to people. I don't know if I can say everything in the book, but I'll try and say as much as I can. And if you've got any combinations you want to query with me, let me know. Or if you think, no, Ross, there are some stellar combinations in here, want to let everyone know, please comment down below. I'd be super interested to read about them. So thanks again for watching. Check us out on social media where you can see our upcoming projects, and you can also check us out on Patreon to help support the channel, bringing more projects, as we absolutely love doing so. Thanks again, and we'll see you on our Tabletop Assault Battle Report.